Everybody, Chris Boss here, and welcome to the show. As we're going to continue to talk about issues that are affecting us locally, issues that are affecting our state and country. We're just going to utilize this time to talk, and hopefully from a centered, right perspective in bringing these to you. And with the Super Bowl coming up, I'm sure there's some diehard Chiefs fans and some great Philly fans that are excited about that battle. But there's something deeper that happens, something that is more of a concern for me and for many that happen around the Super Bowl, and actually happen around any time that large groups of people are gathered together. And that seems to be an increase in victimization of human and sex trafficking. And if you guys know me, you've been around, if you follow any of this, you know this is an issue that's near and dear. This is an issue that I'm fighting really deep and hard to stop, to prevent, to bring awareness to bring light to. And many people think, well, it happens over there, right? It's going to happen at the Super Bowl, but it doesn't happen here. This is an issue that impacts every single community that is listening right now. No matter how big or how small, the impact of human trafficking, the impact of sex trafficking, the impact of the sexual exploitation of our children has an inroad into every community. But again, when large groups are gathered, like around a Super Bowl, there's a great influx of trafficking that tends to happen. And I've got a friend, his name's Chris Baker, with a ministry and organization called Ink180, who is going to be heading out to the Super Bowl to do some work in rescuing some of these victims, as well as he's got this great ministry. It's really cool, where he provides free cover-up and tattoo cover-up, scar tissue cover-up for victims of trafficking and gang members that are looking to leave. I've been to his shop. It's absolutely incredible. He tells these stories of these victims, these survivors who are no longer victims, who've been rescued, who are on the road to recovery and rehabilitation, getting their life back. And he's got this wall. It is so cool. I'll show you a picture here in a minute. He's got this wall where those that have come in for a cover-up, they put their handprint onto this tree and create the leaves of this tree. And it's just absolutely incredible that every single one of those handprints is a story. Every single one of those handprints is a life that's been transformed. And the beauty of this all is he does it for free. This is a nonprofit. This is a ministry. He does it free to them. Now, obviously, it cost him, and that's why I wanted to bring him on here, so he can share a little bit of the story, and maybe some of you out there would consider jumping in and supporting and helping this incredible ministry and this incredible work that is desperately and deeply needed. So, Chris, it's always great to connect with you, Chris. You've got an incredible opportunity. You got an incredible opportunity coming up here this next week. I believe you're leaving Friday to go out to the Super Bowl, not to go to the game. And I'm pretty sure you're not playing. I can't be confident with that, but pretty sure you're not playing. Tell us, what are you going to be doing out there?
Yeah, definitely not playing, and neither of my teams are anywhere near the Super Bowl. So now we go out to the Super Bowl every year. And we have for the last 9 years. We work with state, federal, and local law enforcement, a couple of our partners that we work with. And our job, I have two jobs out there. I go out there to cover up or remove sex trafficking branding tattoos for survivors. And at this Super Bowl, I already have 29 appointments booked going into. So that's huge. So I'll be a very busy guy. But the other thing that we do is we assist law enforcement in locating kids that are being trafficked around the Super Bowl. People talk about the Super Bowl all the time being one of the biggest events every year, where traffickers will descend upon a city for a length of time and sell those that they're victimizing. And we've been doing that work for 9 years. We don't get to do the cool, like, kick down doors and tap pimps job. I wish we could, but we leave that to the professionals who do that an amazing job at that. But we do a lot of work on the front side of it. So we have some software at our disposal. We have the National Center for Missing Exploited Children poster. Then we have a piece of software that goes out onto the web and the dark web, and it actually pulls in all the ads for a geographic perimeter that we set up. It pulls in all those ads, and then we crash those two databases together with photo recognition software to look for possible matches.
That's
Um,
crazy.
yeah,
And
and I'll
exciting
tell
too,
you,
right? That the technology exists to be
yeah,
able to pull that information in and be able to cross-reference that in the hopes to be able to find some of these missing, endangered children.
yeah, absolutely. And then we have another piece of the puzzle too. There's a company called Securus, and their job is they record and archive every phone call that's made from inside of all jails and prisons out.
Okay.
And so we pull a database scrub of any matches to those escort ads. So then we have to listen to those phone calls, listen for
Yeah.
clues, listen for ideas where they might be working. And then we produce just an info sheet for the officers to go out and do what they do best, and that's recover these folks. So last year at the Super Bowl in LA, they recovered 384
Wow.
people in a 3 week period.
Over 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's absolutely incredible. And saying after 9 years of doing this, you've got to have some of those stories that just still resonate and still sit in your heart with you, man. Give us
Yeah.
one. Give us one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's one that's just glaring, and I'll never forget this as long as I live. But we were down in Tampa a few years ago doing the Super Bowl. And basically, the way it works, we're in a command center, and they assign us one of these posters at a time, and we pour through all the data. Uh, so I get sent a poster, and I stopped dead in my tracks. It was like my third day there at the Super Bowl. I'm about my 12th hour. I was pretty tired, pretty wiped out, and they send me this poster, and I froze, and I went up to the room upstairs, and I called my wife and my daughter Quinn on FaceTime because this 15-year-old girl that was missing out of Dallas Fort Worth looked
Mhm.
exactly like my youngest daughter,
Oh wow.
Quinn, and it shook me up. Um, and so I called them. I just wanted to see her face. I knew obviously
Yeah.
that wasn't her, but
Hit
wanted
home.
to see her face and tell you it hit me hard. And as Christians, anytime something like that happens, we automatically like, oh, it's spiritual attack, spiritual attack. Satan's trying to knock me off of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so I started praying about it right away and asking God to break that. And so then I went back down and did my work, produced the information that the officers needed, and I gave it to them. I said, look, guys, I don't ever ask you for this.
Yeah.
But I need to know when you find her. I just had this piece that they were gonna find her.
Mm,
I need to know she's alive and she's
mm,
okay. And I don't need to see her, talk to her, anything like that. Just let me know she's okay.
yeah.
So they went out that night. Didn't have any hits on her. The
Mm.
next they went out and they missed her by about 10 minutes.
Oh.
Yeah, they went out the third night and they found her, another girl, the trafficker, and a John at a motel. And they arrested the pimp and the John. And they texted me and they said, "Hey, we have her. We're transporting her." So when we do these, they have a secured wing set up at a local hospital. So
Okay.
they have trauma counselors, drug counselors,
Awesome.
doctors, whole deal there to assess them and get them what they need, and kind of plan their immediate future.
Yeah.
So they said, "Hey, if you want to come to the hospital, you can see her
No,
like through the glass." I was like,
dude.
"Okay." And I don't know why I did it, and I wish I wouldn't have done it because I went there and I'm looking through this
Mm,
glass down about 25 yards away from me. I see this young girl. She was very undernourished,
mm.
very thin. She was addicted to methamphetamine, so she had big open sores all over her
Oh,
face, her arms, and bruises and cuts. And what I saw was a near death version of my little girl.
wow.
And
Mm,
uh, it still shakes me up to think about it. So I get back in my car and I'm heading back to the command center to keep working. And I'm praying. I talk to God a lot when I'm driving,
yeah.
and I was thanking Him for finding them and bringing the other two to justice and rescuing these two, and just started praying for them and their recovery process starting, and that's a lifelong process for the rest of
Yep.
their lives. And then I said, God, I want to thank you for breaking that attack. And He said that wasn't an attack. that was not spiritual attack.
Hmm.
That was, and I said, no, there's no way. There's no way. Now God, or now Satan is speaking in God's voice to me. So
Right.
like, there's no way that was you, God. And he said, it was me. It wasn't me that caused her to go into that. It was me that
Yeah.
made you work her case, because I know it's hard for you. And I know that this stuff wears on you. And I
Yeah.
know this was heartbreaking because she looked like your little girl. And
Yeah.
I said, exactly. I said, how could you do that to me? And he said, I know it was hard. I know it was hard for you because they're all my little girls.
Yeah.
Now, please go back to work.
Oh,
And I stopped at 7-Eleven on the way back to the command center. I grabbed like 3 of those 5-hour energy shots, and I just boom, boom, boom. I stayed
yeah.
up for like another 20 hours just working on cases. And, it's why we do it, because
Yeah.
it's somebody's little girl, or
Absolutely.
somebody's little boy. We last year in LA, we don't talk about this enough, but last year in LA, a quarter of the survivors that we found were males.
Yeah.
So, it's somebody's kid, and it's
Yeah.
heartbreaking no matter what the situation is. And there's so many different scenarios and situations that we see and pour over. But what I do know is God wins every time. And, that's why we keep doing what we do. And
Absolutely.
so, yeah.
Absolutely, got to keep that fight going, and knowing you, I'm sure it was just as heartbreaking to see this girl through glass and not be able to just pick her up and give her the big old bear hug and hold her and tell her, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's awesome that it's not just rescue, right? That they've got the doctors, they've got the counselors, they've got the health care professionals, that they're trying to get these children, these women, these boys, these girls set up on a pathway forward, because we know there's so much more beyond that rescue.
Yeah.
So you've got obviously you're leaving Friday and you're going to be out there for a week
Yeah.
or so.
A little
Uh,
bit over. Yeah.
you've got a lot of long days ahead of you. What can we be doing for you? And for those that don't know, like you're not paid to go out and do this. Like the FBI, DEA, Homeland Security, they're not cutting you a check to be out there. There's no organization that's saying, "Hey, Chris, come on out. We'll pay for your flight, your hotel, all your supplies." I mean, how many cover-ups did you say you already had scheduled?
29 so far, but I know it's going to end up being
29 so far, and that's your needles, inks, machine. That's all on you, right?
Yeah.
This is all of what you're doing. This is the ministry that you're doing. So we're for sure going to be keeping you in prayer over these weeks. I'm assuming you're not a individually wealthy man that's sitting with a bunch of zeros. Well, one followed with a bunch of zeros in your bank account. So how can our people connect with you to help fund and support the work you're doing, especially over this next week?
Yeah, I mean, anybody can donate any amount, a dollar, five, whatever it is helps, at our website, which is just www.ink180.com. There's a donate button on the top right hand corner of the homepage there. All those donations are tax deductible, and it helps us cover these tattoos. It's a lot. I mean,
Yeah,
I spoke at a church on Tuesday night, and I bring up that I'm going to the Super Bowl, and every guy in the room is envious
yeah.
because I think I'm going to party and have a good time and go to the game, which I never have.
You're always home
Uh,
before the game.
I come home the night
Right.
before. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So it's just we go there for a purpose.
yeah,
I've had a couple of friends who are kind of newer to the ministry, and they don't necessarily know the whole story, and they're like, "Hey, there's some really cool stuff going on down around the Super Bowl. There's some good concerts and stuff." I'm like, guys, I'll work probably 12 to 16 hours a day every day that I'm there.
wow.
And it's being in Phoenix this year. My little sister live out in Phoenix, and they even understand. They're like, we know we're not going to see you,
Yeah,
and we're okay with that. Like, it's more important to us for you to do what you do than
yeah,
we'll catch up another time.
yeah.
So
Phoenix isn't
it's
going anywhere.
no, it's not. But we've done a bunch of pre-work. I went out there 2 months ago to do a bunch of pre-work. this year is going to be unique. You know, there's some things going on out everywhere is different. Every city's landscape with trafficking is a little different.
Yeah.
Uh, but then you add the whole Super Bowl onto it. Um, so it's going to be an interesting one for sure. It's going to be very busy, but I have a really good feeling that it's going to be our most successful one yet.
That's incredible. We'll be praying that for sure happens. And they can also follow you on your social medias. I know occasionally, I know you're working really hard, but occasionally you'll pop up with a little in the moment of what's going on out there. So where can they follow you at?
Facebook is just INK180. Instagram is Ink180 Boss. But yeah, you know, check it out. I'm going to be doing some live videos, kind of maybe, you know, one a day or maybe a couple, maybe one in the morning, one in the afternoon or something, just to kind of give people an update, talk about what we're seeing. You know, of course, things that we can say. Of course, there's a lot
Right.
of things we can be able to share in the moment, but after certainly. Um, because you know we want the people that help support our work and make this possible to know, like, I want you to feel like you're there with us. So
Yeah.
and it's crazy. God does amazing things out there every year, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does this year.
We're looking forward to hearing those stories as well, and seeing what God's going to do in and through you and the team that's there. For sure, we pray, and we'll put all those links down below so people can connect with you on that. And before you go, Chiefs or Eagles?
Ah, man, I want Chiefs because I like Patty Mahomes. I think he's a stellar guy. But I also like Jalen Hurts. I think Philadelphia's got too much for him. I think that
Yeah.
defense way too much for him, and Mahomes with that high ankle sprain. I mean, I wouldn't bet against him, but I don't bet. So, but I think Philly's gonna probably take it.
All right, man. Well. I mean, you are wearing green, right? I don't know if you did that on
I
purpose.
mean,
So
I
maybe
mean, you know, pretty
you.
much all green anyway, all the time. So,
There you
yeah,
go, buddy.
yeah.
Chris, I appreciate you. I appreciate the work you're doing, and we'll be praying for you. We'll keep people connected, guys. If you're interested in keeping in touch with them, one, give support, encourage them with that, and two, share this with your circles. You know, we all don't have the opportunity to be able to go to Phoenix and fight some of these fights, but we all have a circle of influence, and we can utilize our circles of influence to share this work of what's going on. The more we raise awareness to this pandemic, this travesty that is happening in every one of our communities, but is centered right now in Phoenix around the Super Bowl, the more that we can do to stop it. And of course, we also got to get behind those that are working on the front lines, doing incredible work, like Chris Baker and Ink180. So like it, share it, spread the word, and let's fund this for him. So Chris, Godspeed with you. We're praying for you, praying with you. And let's connect afterwards too. I want to hear some
Absolutely.
stories about this, buddy. All right, thanks for
Sounds
joining
good.
us today, buddy.
Thanks, brother.
Bye bye. So, if you're not aware, a lot of victims of trafficking are branded by their pimps, whether it is an actual brand that causes the scars or it's a tattoo that they use, whether it's the pimp's name or some marking to signify that girl, that boy, that victim is their property. It keeps other pimps away. It keeps other gangs away. It's a marking. And so you can imagine when those victims leave that world, when they're rescued out of that and they're on their pathway to recovery, that scar, that marking that is still there, reminding them of the trauma that they've experienced, has got to be incredibly painful. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And so the work that Chris does with Ink180 in providing a free cover up, taking that tragedy and turning it into something beautiful. Go to his Facebook page, Instagram, and you can see some of these cover ups where he's taking a scar and turning into a beautiful butterfly, where he can take a pimp's name and transform it into something that is transformational to these survivors. Absolutely incredible and necessary and needed. I mean, imagine if you had to carry around that marking for the rest of your life and always be branded with that. So that's why this ministry is so greatly needed. And the work that Chris is going to do coming up this next week as he's out in Phoenix before the Super Bowl is going to be absolutely incredible. Incredible. We'll make sure we follow up with Chris in the days and weeks to come, but make sure you're following along with his social medias so you can stay in tune, get more of a real time update in the work that's going on out there, and head over to Ink180, ink180.com, and head down to that donate. $5, 500, 5,000. Any penny, every penny can help him in this ministry and the work and the mission that he's got going on. Would be greatly appreciated, I know, by him and his family. Guys, we're going to wrap up our time here, but make sure you hit that subscribe, hit that like, hit that follow, and let's keep the conversations going. There's a lot of issues affecting our state, affecting our nation, affecting our communities, and I would love to have some of those with you. We've got local municipal elections coming up here in just a couple months, and so if you're a school board candidate, library candidates, local village candidate, and you want to come have a conversation, let's do it. Let's talk. We need more people talking and less with each other, and less people talking just at each other. So let's get that conversation going, and hopefully we can have a centered, right, conversation about it. I'm Chris Boss, and until next time.